The relationship between Huey and Billy Butcher played a central part in the boys' comics. Huey, a pacifist and down-to-earth person, was constantly pushed by Butcher to commit heinous acts, culminating in Huey killing A-Train after being manipulated by Butcher, a storyline we have already covered on our channel. However, the most interesting part of their dynamic is the ending. Though considered controversial among some fans, the conclusion of the boys' comics offered a satisfying resolution, particularly to the story of Huey Campbell. In today's video, we'll discuss the final confrontation between Huey and Billy Butcher. After Billy Butcher finally took revenge on Black Noir, the Soup responsible for his wife's death, he found no closure and continued his quest for vengeance, devising plans to kill every superhero on Earth. He created bombs that would release a toxic cloud, killing anyone with Compound V in their blood. This included not only superheroes but also Vought factory workers and ordinary people who had come into contact with Compound V, potentially including members of the boys themselves. Butcher's first victim was Vasily Vorishkin, a Russian superhero who had helped the boys on numerous occasions. Butcher killed Vasily with a bazooka, but moments before his death, Vasily sent a cryptic message to Huey warning him of Butcher's plans. Upon returning to the US, Butcher officially disbanded the boys and ordered them all to go home, appointing Huey as second in command to strain relationships within the team. Receiving the message, Huey consulted the Legend, a close ally, who informed him of Vasily's death. They honored the fallen hero with a drink, but couldn't decipher the message's meaning or why it was sent to Huey. Later, Butcher visited the Legend with the intention of killing him. Although the Legend tried to defend himself, Butcher easily overpowered him, claiming another life in his vendetta. Huey eventually deciphered Vasily's message and uncovered the truth. Vasily had suspected Butcher's agenda to eliminate all Soups. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Huey immediately called the boys back together. During their meeting, the boys began discussing the ongoing events. Huey informed them about the information Voss provided and his suspicion that Butcher was responsible for Voss's murder. Initially stunned, the boys soon found this revelation plausible. Recalled how Butcher constantly talked about the need to eliminate all Soups on the planet. They concluded, based on Voss's information, that Butcher was creating a weapon similar to military missiles used earlier in the story, targeting the neurons of superheroes modified by Compound V. However, the technology was far from perfect, and without modifications, it wouldn't achieve Butcher's desired results. They suspected he was getting help from a chemist. Their first suspicion fell on Vogelbaum, the creator of the formula, who was supposedly killed years before. Realized they had never actually seen Vogelbaum's body or any evidence of his death, only Butcher's word. They deduced that Vogelbaum might still be alive and kept somewhere by Butcher. With that information, the boys set out to investigate, while stayed in the base, searching for potential leads on the computer. Butcher suddenly entered the scene. During their conversation, Butcher admitted to planning to kill all superheroes. Despite MM's attempts to reason with him, it was futile, and the two former allies engaged in combat. Being the stronger of the two, overpowered Butcher and collapsed him to the ground. During the fight, yelled that he didn't actually want to fight his old friend. Sensing the opportunity, Butcher commended for his friendship, saying he was the best friend he ever had, but this was a mere distraction. When briefly let his guard down, Butcher pulled out a grenade and exploded it in MM's face, killing him on the spot. Butcher then coldly stated he didn't have any mates and continued his mission. During his investigation, Huey drove to New Hampshire, following a potential lead about Vogelbaum's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Frenchie and Kimiko stayed at the base in the Flatiron, where the cleaning crew was fixing the damage and removing MM's body. The killing of made Huey certain that Butcher needed to be stopped at all costs. He briefly considered asking the CIA for help, but Frenchie stated that they wouldn't intervene, as getting involved in these schemes would publicize their funding of the boys and make them responsible for the death of all Soups. This left Huey, Frenchie, and Kimiko to deal with the situation on their own. Huey finally arrived at his destination after driving all night, but he discovered Vogelbaum dead at the house. He then received a call from Butcher, who explained his plan in detail. He intended to remotely detonate bombs to release a cloud that would kill anyone with V in their blood. When Huey objected, Butcher dismissed him as weak and unwilling to make tough decisions. He also told Huey that his trip was entirely useless, as Butcher had already removed all notes or evidence of his experiments with Vogelbaum. Meanwhile, Frenchie and Kimiko were left alone at their base. During their conversation, they overheard a beep. Following the sound, they discovered a bomb that was about to detonate. With a smile on his face, Frenchie accepted his fate, and the bomb destroyed their entire base. This was witnessed by Huey, who was about to enter the building. Pushed away by the shockwave, a realization struck him. Unlike the others, Huey was genuinely a good person with a strong moral compass, and Butcher always knew he'd do something drastic. Huey was supposed to be a failsafe to stop Butcher if he ever stepped over the edge. With that in mind, Huey set out to stop Billy Butcher all by himself. Huey doubted his ability to stop Butcher, so he decided to call a CIA operative to inform them about Butcher's schemes. However, when he called, the operative told him that Butcher had recently entered the Empire State Building and asked Huey what was going on. Realizing that Butcher was heading to a tall building to detonate the bombs and put his plan into action, Huey immediately set off for the Empire State Building. Butcher had apparently told everyone inside to leave using his CIA documents as a symbol of authority. Huey also used his CIA status to enter the building, despite security being told to let no one in. At the top, he confronted Butcher. During their conversation, Huey reminded Butcher of his victims, but Butcher showed little remorse, insisting that it had to be done. He then taunted Huey, saying he was incapable of stopping him and was terrified of him, unable to even look him in the eyes. This enraged Huey, who charged at Butcher, but Butcher dodged the attack, causing Huey to break the glass and fall out of the building. Luckily, Butcher grabbed him, proving that despite everything, Huey was someone he truly cared about. However, the glass holding Butcher broke, and both of them fell. They landed on a balcony. Huey was impaled in the leg by a spike, and Butcher was paralyzed from the fall. Huey then fell to the ground as well. His phone was broken, and the remote was inaccessible, meaning they were both trapped. Huey lashed out at Butcher, saying he shouldn't have killed his teammates. Butcher admitted that his initial plan was to kill them without Huey knowing, but it had failed. But he also argued that it needed to be done to eliminate all soups. He also confirmed Huey's theory that he was recruited as a fail-safe, someone willing to stop Butcher if he went too far. They were soon discovered by a helicopter. Recognizing there was no way out, Butcher asked Huey to kill him, but Huey refused to commit murder again. Butcher then manipulated him once more, claiming he had gone to Scotland and murdered Huey's parents, describing it in gross detail. This caused Huey to snap, and after some hesitation he delivered a punch to Butcher's face and then impaled him, killing him on the spot. He then grabbed Butcher's phone and called his parents, only to discover that they were alive and well and that Butcher had lied. This brutal encounter finally ended the boys, and Huey managed to prevent Butcher's genocidal plans. However, he didn't abandon the war against superheroes. He continued it with a more humane approach, targeting the corporation officials instead. 6 months after the events of the story, Huey is seen continuing his work. He then heads out to the Brooklyn Bridge, which is being rebuilt. When the workers are distracted, Huey writes a small memorial to Frenchie, MM, and Kimiko as an homage to his fallen comrades.